Hey, good morning to you. Ooh, good workout this morning, that's for sure. That tire over there that tracker's in right now, I lifted 100 times. Look at him, he's over there trying to lift it right now. He thinks when I do that he needs to work out too. It's crazy. He plays with the medicine ball and the tire and everything. Lift that tire 100 times. I throw the medicine ball about 50 times up over my head, launch it with big squat and throw. And then I've got a sandbag that I do clean and presses with that finishes me up. I'm whipped. So no woods walk today. Woods sit today. How's that? So there's a log right over there. Just slide that one over here. Sit up next to me. Got a story for you. Tell you why I'm telling these stories. Tracy and myself have tried for a while to figure out what direction to take the podcast in. And he told a story about Abraham Lincoln. I've told a story about the warrior ethos, if you will. There's a lot to that one. I went several different directions. Tracy's is real Paul Harvey-esque, where you're hearing the story and you're thinking, who is this? And then you finally realize who it is. Fantastic. I think it was a fantastic podcast. We've got some good feedback on the recent one that I put up. So maybe that's our direction we're thinking about telling more stories as a means of education, enrichment, or just entertainment. I mean, just as a means of, hey, you just needed a break from life and we want to help you get there. So because of that, I thought I would sit here and tell you a story today. Maybe just listening to a story will get you enthused to get over in the podcast, because my end goal is to either listen to us here or listen to us over there. And I think storytelling is best, oftentimes it's like reading a book. I think it's best left for a podcast where you don't see the person telling the story and you have a imagination that can help you fill in the blanks. So I think that's important. So the story I'm going to tell you today is about the two coins in the shoe. So listen up, because this is the way I remember the story. There were two boys and they were walking down. This is like in the early 40s or 50s here in the US. And these two boys were walking down this path that was along in a farming community. And it was equally wooded on one side of the path, and then there was open field on the other. And so as they were walking, they were just doing what boys do, skipping rocks and climbing trees and digging for worms and picking up snakes and stuff like that. And just having a good time, just being a couple of boys, all right? Not that girls didn't do it too, but more often than not, the boys definitely did. And in this particular case, two boys were running down this road. So as they get down through there, they see out in the field, maybe, a good 40, 50 yards out in the field, there's a gentleman out there, and he's just doing regular farm work out in the field with hand tools. You can imagine, this is an older, impoverished farmer, didn't have a lot of funds, didn't have tractors and a lot of big tools, and maybe didn't even have mules and stuff of that nature. I don't know, but the way I remember the story, he just had hand tools, and so he's digging up area and tilling it up by hand to create an area to grow some crops for he and his family to sustain themselves. So there was an older boy and a younger boy, and the younger boy was younger by about 3 years. And as they're walking up through there, they noticed that the farmer's shoes are sitting right next to the road, and he's way off in the field, and he doesn't see them. He doesn't realize that they're there. He's got a pair of work boots on out in the field, and he's got an extra pair of shoes that he doesn't have to wear home and track mud into the cabin and all that sort of thing. So the younger boy says to the older boy, hey, let's go over there and take his shoes and hide them. Then we'll go over here on the bank of the creek, hide down behind this big sycamore tree in the root ball, and we'll watch. And when he comes to get his shoes and they're not there, we can, have a good time. And the older boy thought about it for a moment, and he's like, I tell you what, let's do this instead. Give me your silver dollar. Both these boys carried silver dollars in their pocket their grandfather had given to them when they were younger. And he said, I tell you what, you take your silver dollar and put it in that shoe. and I'll take my silver dollar and I'll put it in this shoe. And let's see what kind of reaction we get out of him then, instead of the one that you've suggested. The younger boy just, whatever, yeah, you know, just listen to his older, I don't know if he was his older brother or just a buddy, but he's like, whatever, yeah, okay. So he was really reluctant because this silver dollar was important to him, and his grandfather had given it to him. But he gave it over to the older boy, and they put it in the shoes, and then they went over, got behind the creek bank, a big, huge sycamore tree that was growing along the creek bank, got over behind it, and waited. The farmer was out there working for another couple hours. It was a while. They had to wait a long time, but you know, they were okay. They just hung out, laughed, and giggled and all that stuff. Then they noticed he's coming. Here he comes. Shh, 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 shh. Here he comes. So they sit and watch, and the older gentleman comes over, and he sits down. He takes off his muddy, dirty work boots. He's going to put on his regular shoes, and he puts his foot down in the first shoe, and he goes, man, there's something in my shoe. So he takes it off, and he pulls it out, and he looks at it, and he just, you know, you can imagine he's confused. Kind of, wow. Just kind of shakes it off, and then he just doesn't understand. Looks around. You know, the boy's ducked down behind the root ball so he doesn't see him. And the older man's looking around, doesn't see anybody. He doesn't know what to do, so he just keeps it. I mean, what was he supposed to do? Just throw it out in the woods? So he keeps it. And then as he sticks his foot in the other shoe, he's like, wow, there's another one. So he reaches in, and when he pulls the second one out, he just breaks down. He just breaks down. He's crying and he's sobbing, and he stops and he gives thanks to the sky, to his God, because his wife was sick, and they didn't have the money to help. And so the money that was in the shoe, you think about it, back then, that's a lot of money, really. The money that's in the shoe is exactly what they needed for her to get some medical help. So again, he takes the second coin, puts it in his pocket, and he gives thanks. He makes it real clear that he just doesn't know why or who or what has put these silver dollars in a shoe, but just asked a blessing on whoever it was that did that. And then he puts on his shoes and he heads back home. So what do you think the two boys talked about after that? Well, sure, the older boy said, you know, you were wanting a reaction. You got a reaction. Not maybe the one that the younger boy wanted. He wanted to make somebody feel uncomfortable and get a reaction from that. And yeah, the old man did feel uncomfortable. He was just humbled by it. So, what is the moral to the story? It's a good question. What is the moral to the story? Well, in the modern age, you can see that it's easy to get, particularly, this is my take on it. This is one take, it's not the take. I don't have the answers. I have an answer for me. It may not be the same answer for you. And stories like this are designed, I think, for us to get the lessons that are designed for us. There's a lot to storytelling, particularly the way some teachers and preachers, if you will, pastors, prophets, those that have taught through stories for ages, Native American people, Aboriginal people. There's some stories that are designed to have one simple truth, single truth, and that's it. And then there's others that are intended to have multiple truths. In this particular case, my intention is for you to take the meaning that it means to you and hope it helps you in some way. But for me, I needed this reminder because I have a tendency want to get in the mud with the trolls and what have you and all the people arguing on social media. And it's just a reminder that we can see these things that are happening. I can see these things. Let me talk about it from my perspective. I can see these things and not get involved, or get involved and try to offer some positivity rather than negativity, and see where that takes us. You know, it's worth a shot, right? It's definitely worth a shot. Case in point, about 2 years ago, I used to get a lot of trolls on YouTube, a lot. I mean, it was just, I was inundated with trolls. It was so overwhelming, and a lot of personal attacks, and I let it really get to me at a couple times in my life. And so what I started doing was I would totally ignore the people. I would usually debate the people and prove them wrong on certain topics and that were trolling me and what have you. But what I ended up doing was the people that were just negative trolls, I'll just be frank and honest, I just delete their comment and not deal with it at all. And then the people that offered encouragement, I would thank them for their encouragement and then offer them encouragement on something that they had done. Like, for example, if they offer me encouragement, I thank them for it. Thank you. Because I appreciated it. And what I found after doing that regularly, and you take this for what it is and get a message from it as well, I just don't get trolls very often at all on YouTube anymore. It's occasional. It's real rare anymore. So, interesting take. I think that applies directly to the 2 coins in the shoe. So that's a story for you. If you like it, then head over to the podcast and subscribe for us. Follow it. Set it so that you get automatic downloads. That really helps us out. And I hope you listen to them, obviously. But even if you don't listen to them, that helps us out. So consider that over on the podcast. You can find that on our naturereliance.org website. You can look up top. There is a menu item for podcasts. You can go there. That is Buzzsprout, and you can follow and download any of those podcasts that seem to fit your fancy. Moving forward, I dare say that we're going to have more stories. And so hopefully if this resounds with you, you'll find more like it there in the very near future. So again, education, enrichment, or maybe just entertainment. Whatever you can get out of it, we hope you get it out of it. So thanks for joining me here on the stump. There's your stump. You come back another day. Come on, join in. Let's learn together.